talk about as well. What are you seeing in terms of work from home taking place, and how do you think that's going to be not just for the next couple of weeks, but potentially into the future?
Well, thank you for having me. Great to be here. And first of all, happy Friday 13th from the first growth company CEO to have to report into what was a pretty apocalyptic day on the markets. We're seeing a lot from all different kinds of customers. And we have 110,000 customers, SMBs, large enterprise, government, academic, nonprofit. And I would say it's a bit all of the above situation. There's a lot of people who are moving to remote work or work from home situation for the first time. A lot of executives who are struggling to figure out how to manage and maintain operational performance in this kind of environment. A lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty. And I think the reaction inside the company has been really fantastic. A lot of energy. I think the employees feel like this is our moment to help. We have a great collection of resources at slack.com/remote. We've also scaled up a program to give people one-on-one consultations. Our customer success teams are very active with the enterprise customers. We're running webinars and giving training. So it's, in some sense, Slack was built for this, not specifically for remote work, but for up-leveling communications. And communication is just foundational to the way the business operates. And in an environment where you're suddenly making this transition, it's more important than ever.
Are you of the view that once this panic and virus subsides, that this is going to change work and remote work for a very long time?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely have some permanent impact. I mean, I think from where we sit today, there's not a lot of visibility into the future. And you think about just what it felt like yesterday compared to Wednesday. And there's these moments like the Tom Hanks NBA thing where suddenly the psychology really seems to shift and people have a different kind of perception of what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. So looking too far ahead, I think, is difficult. But I think this will have a lingering effect or a lasting effect for most organizations.
Can we talk about the guidance, though? Because that did disappoint the market.
Yeah, I think it did. We came in with a great quarter, great year, 57% growth in revenue, 47% growth in billings. Huge beat on both for the quarter. And long term, I think we're very optimistic. We just, if you put yourself in my position on a day like yesterday, we're going to have to give guidance at this point. And the further out you get, there's kind of this cone of uncertainty that gets bigger and bigger as you project into the future. And we can't just average out the upside from that and the downside. We have to be responsible and prudent and guide to something that we feel very confident we can hit. But there's pressures on both sides. I got an email from a CTO last week who had just signed a huge contract with Slack, one of the biggest asset managers in the world. And what he said in the email is like, hey, just letting you know we just signed, but this is the last PO we signed before the doors kind of shut. And I think you'll see some clamping down on spending. At the same time, we've seen a real surge in interest, both from existing customers and from new customers. We've seen a surge in new teams created and people checking out Slack for the first time. So it's really hard to balance those two.
And then how are you seeing the competition right now, given what Microsoft is doing with Teams and what Google is doing?
We feel great about that. I mean, I think Teams has been out for 3 years now, and there's been enough time has passed. And I think this is the reception that we got from the analysts last night. This is our third quarter result report as a public company. Federal government, one of the wins that we're proudest of in the last quarter was with Veterans Affairs, going to 20,000 users. And you think about, they run the biggest integrated healthcare system in the United States. You can think about the pressure that they're going to be under, a lot of elderly patients, and managing through that kind of crisis in an environment where you're having people work from home, in an environment that's so dynamic. I mean, honestly, I think about my own experience. Stuff's changing every day. We have 1,300 employees in San Francisco. Just last night, school districts said they're shutting down all the schools. So people who are already in a situation where they were battling over kitchen table space with their spouse when they're both working from home are certainly going to have 2 or 3 kids in the house as well. And that's not an easy situation to manage. And meanwhile, the disruptions to the supply chains, to the SMBs, restaurants shutting down, that's going to have downstream impact, obviously travel. So it's just such a dynamic environment. And I think anything that leaders can do and employees can do to help drive kind of alignment and ultimately agility, because in this kind of environment, you need to be agile, you need to be responsive.